people think that just sharing something is enough to make change or that they've done their bit. I'm gonna put that in C tier. I can't deal with patronising adults, they suck. Hey, I'm Jean, I'm 17 and a Year 12 student, and I'm also a climate activist and an organiser with School Strike for Climate. Over the past few years, I've been involved in a lot of different forms of activism, all mostly pushing for getting the government to change their policy and general attitudes surrounding climate change. A big bit of that is in this book I wrote called Lead the Way, which is sort of a collection of stories and anecdotes and tons of practical advice of pretty much all the things I wish I knew when I embarked on this activist journey. Today I'm going to be ranking a whole bunch of different sorts of activism based on how much I like them, and by no means saying which is inherently better, it's just which ones I had the most fun with. So we're starting off with rallies. They're one of the things I'm most experienced with, and they're just sort of such a great culmination of all these people together where you get to hear a bunch of awesome speakers and make lots of noise and totally flood a space. The one thing though about it is that my feet get really tired very quickly. So I think that a rally is going to go up in the A tier. Next up, marches. I love them so much. The difference with a march is everyone all together going on this big walk to maybe another location, or maybe you just do a big loop. This incredible energy, and it's so electric and it's so much fun. You look back and you feel like there is no end to it, and you just have such an amazing feeling the entire time, which I feel like a rally doesn't quite get as much, though it really depends, but because of that, I will be putting march up in the S tier. We have volunteering with your local organisations and action groups. Rather than breadth, it's all about depth and education and raising leaders, which is why volunteering with local organisations is such a great form of organising and such a great way of making change in your community. So I think because of that, I'm going to put in A tier, town hall meetings. Events where you'll have maybe politicians or whatnot meeting with the community and answering questions and having speeches and whatnot, and other people within the community might be speaking or asking questions, and yeah, it's a great sort of community-centered event. I have more fun with big protesty action things. I'm not great at sitting through long events, so because of that I'm going to put it into the B tier. So next up we have a picket, and it's where generally people will often they'll go on strike, holding up banners and signs and sort of chanting about their particular cause, and generally they'll be outside a significant location, whether that is a company that is against their particular cause, anything like that. So I think they'll probably go up to B because I just don't have quite as much experience with this, so I gotta do it to know my overall fun rating. So next up we have divestment. So divesting essentially is the opposite of investing, and it's where people might be pushing a bank to stop investing in fossil fuels. So because of that, I think it's just not particularly interesting or fun, but it is quite quick and surprisingly easy. In my own personal experience with divestment, I switched my super provider, and that was so easy. It took like, I don't know how long my mum did it, but I know it took such an insignificant amount of time to do, and everyone should do it. I'm going to put that up in B again because it's just, yeah, I feel like it's quite neutral. There's nothing particularly either way about it. Okay, so next we have online events, which have obviously become much more frequent during COVID and when people can't gather outdoors. I think they're really great, not just as something that's pandemic friendly, but they're really awesome as a more accessible thing because a lot of people can't physically make it to protest. They're definitely a super effective form of action that has made a lot of change, and it's awesome in how you can get people from not just all over a country or wherever, but also globally to all partake in the one action, which I think is quite cool. I really love the community I feel at rallies, and I love being around people and all the noise and all those sorts of bits of a protest, which I feel like I don't get quite as much from online events. So because of that, I am going to put it in the C tier. Next up we have lobbying board members, which I think I'm particularly thinking about shareholder activism, which is the one I've been most involved with in this space. And the way that works is you buy one single share in a company, and then you go with a group to these big annual meetings they have of shareholders. You're able to say your thoughts as a shareholder and put pressure on the company from the inside. But I will say, Oh my God, are those meetings boring. Because of that, I'm gonna put that in the D tier. Even though it is very effective, it's not for me. Someone else can do it, someone who has patience. Next up, we have legal action. I personally haven't been involved in any legal actions, but a whole bunch of my friends are in the climate space at the moment. What's great about legal action is when it works, it sets a precedent and it can change laws that will have massive impacts way beyond just the one particular thing they're fighting for. And yeah, I think because of that, I'm gonna put it in the A tier. Arts is such a great way to get people from not just knowing about an issue, but really relating it to them and letting them see it through a new lens. And I think it really does impact people quite deeply because of that. Arts is used a lot in activism when you're promoting an event or you make infographics or whatnot. There's so many artists who make really great political content, which generally gets shared loads on social media. I love the arts, and when people tie it with political change, I think it's awesome and it's so much fun to be part of. Yeah, that's gonna go A. Posting on social media. I think there's a lot of activism happening online at the moment. I mean, of course, with the Black Lives Matter movement, you have all these people who have been using their own personal social media as a means to get that change, which I think is really cool. It can be a really useful tool when used well. I don't know how to use social media. I'm very bad at it. That is going right to the bottom. We have lobbying politicians. The process of trying to push a politician to change their stance on something, or maybe support a particular cause, or endorse you, or a particular day of action, or any of those sorts of things. So generally, it'll involve meeting with a politician, most often your local MP, and yeah, having a conversation with them and seeing where they stand and explaining your cause and why they should be supporting it. It all sounds really great in theory, and it can be great, but I've had so many crappy experiences. I'm gonna put that in C tier. I can't deal with patronizing adults. They suck. I will say the times when it is good, it is very good. Sit-ins or sit-down style protests. A sit-in in particular is when you go inside a location and you'll just sit there for as long as possible and occupy that space, whether it's Parliament House, a politician's office, a company location that you disagree with, to get them to change their ways. It's a very direct form of action. And then a sit down is pretty similar, but generally it means you'll be outside the location itself. Legally, those are much easier to organize and you can get more people involved with. I love them. They're always so much fun. You never know exactly what's gonna happen or how things are gonna go down, which I love in protest. It's so up in the air, things are really spontaneous. I think that a sit-in or a sit-down is gonna go up in the S tier. Last, and very much not least, is the surprise protest. And this often will overlap a bit within like sit-in and sit-down type actions, in that you don't tell whoever it is that you're going to show up there or where you're going to occupy that you're going to be there. They're pretty difficult to organize because you need to work with the group and make sure everyone's super well versed on what's going to happen. But it's awesome again when it just happens and people are really surprised, and all of a sudden you have this protest going on and all the people who are being targeted are sort of shocked by it and don't know how to respond. It could take so many turns, and it is so much fun to be a part of, and it's really sort of great energy, and I feel like so many people are able to get involved in this thing that feels super tangible and real. I think that's part of what I like so much about it. It feels so real as you're doing it. Yeah, I thought it'd be more of a bell curve, but yeah, just not that much in the low down tiers. All sorts of activism is so much fun, and it's great seeing how everyone fits in their own spaces, because whilst I love the chaoticness of these sorts of marches and last-minute snap actions and surprise protests, there's other people who are so effective at lobbying and talking with politicians and all that side of things. So yeah, it's cool seeing, I think this sort of officializes to me how I feel about everything, and yeah, it's been great. I accidentally will comment from an official account because I might be getting into an argument. Suddenly, yeah, you have a verified thing next to it.